On YouTube, guys. It's beyond 8 right now. Namaskaram. Welcome everybody on YouTube as well. And welcome all the Zoom participants. Namaskaram. Shubha Sayam Sarvebhyaha. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes for everybody to join in. Meanwhile, I see there are already comments, positive, negative, all sorts. It's inevitable despite the controversy that we touch upon Manu Smriti, because I thought we'll start the new year with the exploration of the four Purusharthas. So there is no there is no Artha, Kama and Moksha without Dharma as the fundamentals. So we cannot really skip it. So as much as I avoid any sort of controversy and stick to the crowd friendly topics like Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, more Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there are lacks of such topics, but dharma somehow is the most touchy topic among most, and is the easiest to attack as well. So we'll look at these topics for today and understand the most popular, the most famous and infamous at the same time text of Sanskrit language, and probably the entire Sanskrit literature, the most controversial text, which is Manu Smriti or Manu Dharma Shastra, Manava Dharma Shastra. We look at what Manu means, who he is, what Manvantara means. I have read through multiple translations, a lot of translations, unfortunately. So we'll see how those translations are, who made such translations, why are they good or they bad, or are they ugly. We'll look at that, and we'll look at the overview of the 12 chapters. There are 12 chapters in Manu Smriti overall. We'll look at an overview of all of those 12, what they contain. The first Adhyaya of Manu Smriti, which deals with the birth of creation, the origin story, and the measurements of time, various measurements of time, and the four Varnas. The first Adhyaya, which deals with all of this, is made as a chant and put up on YouTube already. I'll make it public after the session. Maybe I have to time it so that YouTube algorithm makes it reach as many people as possible. But for all the members, it's already there for early access in the pinned comment. For patrons also, you'll be able to see that in the shared post. But yeah, before that, a quick recap and general, updates as we wait for people. Oh my God, okay, 5,000 rupees, Chandramauli ji. That's very generous of you, but okay, I'll not say no, but you can take up memberships on a monthly basis or on Patreon or Zoom, and that will give you unlock access to some benefits. But much appreciated. If you have any priority messages, I can take up that for you. So this is the thing. There are extremes when it comes to Manu Smriti. In the very beginning, somebody said blessings to have taken up this topic. And then Omkar ji says, are you seriously going to talk about and promote this book whose whole purpose is to keep Brahman above the whole society? I thought you taught Sanskrit. You thought right, I do teach Sanskrit, and Manu Smriti is in Sanskrit. This really is not what I thought about you. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's look at it. That is why I titled this Moral or Evil. We'll look what this book exactly is, why people burn it all over the place, adding to extra pollution there already exists. But we'll see about what's correct, what's incorrect in this text. I hope no audio on YouTube. I guess the connection on YouTube, okay, it's lagging. Let me quickly check the quality on YouTube, guys. I see that the quality has gone down. It is blurring. Can people confirm in the comment section of YouTube On Zoom, I think everything is fine. On YouTube, audio is okay now. Jaswinder Ji. Thank you so much. Is it pixelated? Is it still at high definition? Or is it like very blurry? Can you see the text clearly? It's fine for me, Virendra Ji. Thank you. Seems fine on YouTube. All right. I hope the video resolution is good as well. Okay, Murthy Ji, thank you so much. So, before we touch upon these topics, even the first topic, a very happy belated Sri Ramanavami and Hanuman Jayanti to all of you. We had these very auspicious festivals happen the last week, and the last weekend there was this magnificent festival here in Hyderabad, offline, organized by two doyens of classical Indian dance, Kuchipudi and Vilasni Natyam, Ananda Shankar Jayant ji and Anupama Kailashakka. So I attended that event, and I met a lot of you guys, a lot of Sanskrit enthusiasts, our members in the event. If you guys are here, among the many people whom I met there, namaskaram to you. Thank you so much for being here and for meeting me there in person. Going to the topic at hand today, this is a follow-up to the live stream that we had a couple of weeks ago, as Ugadi started Ugadi. With the onset of the new year, I thought we'll start from the basics about human pursuit in general, what everybody aims towards, and what is the outlook of this civilization towards all such pursuits. People might pursue fame, people might pursue wealth, people might pursue pleasures or influence in the society. Everybody might think that their tastes and their pursuits and their personalities are unique, but all of such pursuits fall under just 4 categories, which are called as Purusha Arthas, the pursuits of all human beings. We looked in the live stream that Purusha, the word there does not mean male, like Purusha and Stri, but rather Purishete iti Purushaha, and Purati Agre Gacchati iti Purushaha. I see that there is some lag happening on YouTube. Let me set up charger. It's getting a little laggy, no, on YouTube. 1 second, guys. Too many comments and commentaries going on YouTube. If there are any questions, I'll come to it, and we'll come to all that opinions also in chat. But happy Ramanavami and Hanuman Jayanti to you too, Virendra ji. Mam Smriti va Sai Ramesh na bhoho katham asi bhoho sarvam kushalam. Astu. We'll go ahead. Hopefully it's fine on YouTube. Like I was saying, these 4 pursuits of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, we understood what those terms mean, what dharma means. Dharma, which again many people think is religion. This color is associated with dharma. A set of rituals is associated with dharma somehow. But the fundamental essence of what dharma means, dharyate, dharanat, dharma, the other words that kind of help us grasp the essence of what dharma means, dharana, dharti, dhara, dhara, everything that holds, that sustains, is dharma. We looked at that. Then we looked at artha, kama and moksha also in that sense. We'll come to those topics also in the future. But we also then saw 4 texts. There are many hundreds of texts in each of these fields describing dharma, artha, kama and moksha. But we looked at 4 texts pertaining to each of them. For example, Dharma Shastra has, of course, Manu Smriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Narada Smriti, Vishnu Smriti. There are multiple such smritis on Dharma Shastra. Chanakya's Niti Shastra itself is in some ways related to the subject of dharma. I'll give a pause. Okay, it's back on YouTube. Then we looked at texts pertaining to Artha, the most popular again being Kautilya's Artha Shastra. Then the most popular in Kama Shastra being Vatsyayana's Kama Sutras. There are many others. And in Moksha being Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Again, there are many, many, many others. So coming to today, exploring one of the most controversial topics of um, Dharma Shastra, the Manu Smriti. I thought we have been making exploring content in a specific way. I've been sharing MP3 files of these English translations separately and multiple individual regional language translations separately until now. But going forward, as I was studying this Manusmriti, I had this idea. I also told you guys that I'll be presenting all these top texts that I've mentioned so far, from Manusmriti, Arthashastra, Kama Sutras of Vatsyayana to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and all the other 4 texts also of each of these topics. I said I'll share these with you. And one thing that kind of struck me clearly on how to share this in the best possible way is through multi-language downloadable resources. I'll tell you guys what they are, how they look. One second. So these multi-language docs are Google Drive files, essentially. This Google Drive folder has multiple resources. It's basically Google spreadsheets which list out any specific text that we want to study in all languages with their source and meanings. How that is going to be laid out in one spreadsheet is like this. Excuse me, guys. You can see this, right? Hopefully, all of you. So this is how these multi-language resource sheets are going to be. As you see, this sheet has the shloka in all languages. There is source and meaning. To the left, if you see the column, there is source and meaning. And to the right, along the rows, are all Indian languages and English. So there is the Sanskrit source. Sanskrit meaning is not yet done, this translation. And there is the English source written in English language, and then the English translation. And the Telugu source in Telugu language, Telugu translation below it, Bengali, Gujarati, and so on. So like I said, we have a small group of people who are working on this. If any of you guys know and are experts in your regional languages and you would like to join us in projects like this, where we explore and make such kind of multi-language resources of all these topics, please send me a message either on the Sanskrit channel at gmail.com or on Instagram. This is something that I'm hoping will add a lot of value to all our everybody basically who knows one language and is interested in learning others. For example, somebody who knows Telugu can read this particular text. And in Bengali and in Gujarati and in English transliteration and in Sanskrit, it's the same text. Now, with the help of English meaning and their own mother tongue meanings, they can get a gist of what that shloka means and see how it is translated in other languages as well. So with the help of this, and this text of Purushartha folder has all such multi-language documents, these Excel Google spreadsheets. So for Chanakya Artha Shastra, we have one text like this. For Vatsyayana's Kama Sutras, we have one text like this. And there are raw text files in another folder which just lists out all the shlokas of the source text. So, and from Manu Smriti to Chanakya's Arthashastras, Yoga Sutras, and Kama Sutra to all the other topics, we'll lay them out here. And from here, we'll take them and put them into a spreadsheet like this, exploring the same subject of Sanskrit in multiple Indian languages with multiple Indian language meanings, enabling all of us to understand them further. And there are also reference books for us to refer to translations if needed in any other language by reputed authors. So I'll be sharing this Google Drive link again with just the members and patrons and those people who are interested in working on this project. So this is how this multi-language downloadable resources are going to be, and this is how we'll be exploring all the or all the texts on these 4 Purusharthas and other texts going forward. Hopefully, the more people join hands, the better it is. And at the same time, because these will stay like this, people can join up in the future as well and see all that work that has gone before by people in other languages and continue and take that work forward from there. So this is the approach that we are going to take. Any questions about this right now? Just this? Unable to see the words on screen. That I was just presenting the overview, Malhotraji. It's not. This is the content for today's presentation. What I presented before was the approach, how we are going to study this among ourselves, as among the teachers groups, and sharing that with members and patrons. We'll come to how that content is made into videos and starting from now. So I hope this text is clearly visible to everybody. Is this text visible? Whatever is there right now on screen? All of this? Yeah, on Zoom it's good, I know. But Anupji, thank you. All right. So thank you so much for the confirmation. Again, we'll come to questions later, but it is uncanny how many translations are there out there which translate Manvantara as this, with this very odd English word, patriarchate. I looked up the meaning of patriarchate. It had nothing to do with a duration of time, which Manvantara is, which many people, even if they are against for Manu or whatever else, they know that Manvantara is not, some quality. It's a duration of time. Manu Antara. Antara is a gap, is a duration of time. But there were so many translating Manvantara as a period of man. Because they think, okay, Manu, man, okay, somewhere it's man and his dominance, so it's patriarchate. But the word itself, Manu plus Antara is that gap everybody knows. Antar, distance of and measure of something. And Manu, which is for Manushya, Manava, and Manas, and Mantra, Manana, that Manava, none of this just refers to man. Anybody who knows even one Indian language knows that Manava and Manushya does not refer to just masculine or male. Right? Even a female is Manava or Manushya, and male is Manava or Manushya. That comes from that ability to think, believe, suppose, imagine, everything that has this cognitive functions, that sense of awareness, all these other English words which are applicable to this dhatu or the root sound man is what Manu is from. That is where Manas, Manava, Manushya, Mantra, all of these words are from. So it blows my mind how obviously these mistranslations are done. Because Manu and man, English has that word man. That doesn't mean Manvantara can now be translated as patriarchate of some sort. It is to deal with the human conduct, human dharma, and nature of humans. And human also has man in it. I really don't want to go into the etymology of English words, because man, human, woman, where they came from, I don't really know. But somewhere they seem to be connected, but not sure. But it definitely does not. Manu is not man, guys. I hope I can't make this clearer. Does it? Are we all on the same page with this? Hopefully we are, because the number of translations that said Manvantara's patriarchate during this patriarchate, the patriarchal period. Kaha patriarchy? What nonsense. So that is what led me towards this question, KBC question, the $1,000,000 question. How accurate is this about translation? So any book or any opinion that you see out there which translates Manu as a man is fundamentally flawed. Because in English, they might have a word called man, which refers to a particular gender, but in Sanskrit, Manava, Manushya, Manas, and Mantra, and Manana, which is to think, believe, suppose, imagine, conceive, this is from a Sanskrit dictionary taken as it is, has nothing to do with one particular gender. So, is it just dumb? I don't think so. It's, patriarchate. I don't think somebody comes up with so many syllabled word because they were just plain stupid. Ill-informed, possible, but then again, they know that there exists such a text called Manu Smriti. So, it's really, they are informed, well enough informed, that there exists something called patriarchy and there exists something called Manvantara. They know of all these terms. So they are informed. So it is not A or B. It's definitely malicious. D, I just put it out there because many people think D is the right answer. But again, I'm not for a particular oppressive ideology or against it, or I really don't want to identify myself with some activist group. It is that at this moment that I want to also acknowledge this very prevalent, I've seen it with my own eyes, social evil that exists right now, unfortunately, in our society. It's not all great as we sometimes don't want to see it and selectively blind ourselves to. There exists caste discrimination in this country. There exists a very oppressive hierarchy of different strata of society. It is not to whitewash all of it, but it is not. They think, okay, because there exists such oppressive social situation, it must come from one particular book. And which book? Bhagavad Gita, of course not. Yoga Sutras, of course not. Oh, there looks like there are these set of texts which talk about dharma, which is human conduct and laws of human nature. So this must be from there. This seems to be what the logic is with these people. So there are terms like Brahminical patriarchy, whatever else. I am an yogi myself. Some people think I'm a Brahmin, some people don't. And I really don't want to associate any of these terms with all of this nonsense. But if you look at the content of what it is, there comes descriptions, detailed descriptions, that if you pursue this, 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 and this, you are a Brahmana. If this is your duty that you're performing, if these are your tendencies, you are a Brahmana. Doesn't matter what you were born into, what your surname is. Surname as a concept is new to us. Many people might find this surprising. Again, if you are in these kinds of vrittis, or these are your tendencies, these are your gunas, then this is your Varna. Varna, again, is caste, people translate it as. Varna means color. Anybody who knows any Indian language, again, understands Varna is a hue, a color, a kind of a trait. In itself, it's an attribute. So, any human being of just one kind of varna all throughout his life? Of course not. Right? Anybody who has any semblance of common sense knows these. That maybe you are born into a family which is of a certain nature, whose job is so such and such, whose tendencies are so and so, but you can be born into the best of learned Brahmins and turn into the worst of um, you know uh, any kind of ill habits of gambling, or you might not first of all be very interested in developing yourself or upgrading yourself or being in the study of these finer subtler aspects of life. You might want to just engage in baser instincts and spend life, or you might be born there and want to excel, want to learn new things. So, a varna is not something which is fixed throughout one's life. Anybody who says that, right, left, or center, is again malicious. Don't want to call them dumb. I don't want to give them these benefits of doubt that they might, their understanding is only so much, or they might not be informed, because once they delve into topics like this, it is clearly malicious. It is with a certain agenda and a certain maliciousness that they go behind translations like these and attributions like these. So now, hopefully, that these questions, why are we even touching topics like this? Despite having such negative propaganda, I am honestly taking a risk presenting this topic on YouTube, because most of these videos that cover topics like this open themselves up for attacks. Again, not by dumb people, not by ill-informed people. It's clearly with malicious intent. If somebody comes out, they are informed enough, they have enough capability in their minds that what is right, what is not, and to gather information. It's not just, they already have a certain mindset that this is of a certain group, and because there are texts in other parts of the world which are very oppressive, there must be something in Hinduism also which is very oppressive. How can we give it all the positive whitewashing? There exists some social evil in the society, so it must be coming from a book. So all the people who burn the book, again, no, these are people who believe in burning libraries. I have really nothing good to say about any of such groups. But what we can do is understand what dharma means and see that it is the foundation, the first step on which we grow our artha, wealth, and our sense of enjoyment and pleasures, kama, and finally get liberation, moksha. If dharma itself is attacked, if not religion, not some flag and bike rallies, that's not dharma. The foundation of living a sustainable life and seeing what matra dharma is, pitra dharma is, what swadharma is, without those fundamentals of what sustains one's growth, without that fundamentals, which is dharma, you cannot grow, either artha or kama. And even if you do, it is not going to lead towards moksha. It is only going to keep you entangled forever. So let us, with that understanding, take a kind of build a cage around this. Let's put this to rest. Step over a threshold with peaceful, fresh minds, hopefully. But I kind of have a doubt that we'll be coming to these kinds of topics again and again. These kinds of addressing malicious intent, because this is clearly malicious. But let us just spend this amount of energy towards addressing that maliciousness and go towards the actual content, because the most funny aspect of all of this is once you look at the actual text, you will see that The punishments are punishments. Of course, there are punishments, but they are, all these punishments are present across all strata of society. Of course, they say that, there is a hierarchy in the society. Is it not there right now? Of course, it exists. Anybody who says, oh, there is, everybody is equal, is just living a deluded existence, right? So this text lays down those hierarchies, saying everybody must strive towards a subtler way of life, towards uplifting themselves, towards, but of course, not everybody in the society is just going to sit under a tree and meditate. There are multiple, if there is a society, if 100 people live together, of course, some people have to take care of sanitation. Of course, somebody has to take care of the plumbing works. Does not mean they are lower, upper, but they do such tasks which do not require that amount of individual restraint and finesse and subtler ways of living. So there exists a clear hierarchy, there exists punishments. Dharma is about rules, so it's going to sound very oppressive, but this oppression is coming from a sense of what is good and what is not good for you, what are your bounds, so that you don't cause harm to the entire society. The objective of following dharma, especially in texts like this, is that the society as a whole works coherently, irrespective of individual human desires and needs, which are unrestrained. Unrestrained needs and going behind them is what has brought our societies to this situation. Again, I don't want to go into that, it'll open up a whole new rant. But with that background set, if anybody asks any further questions regarding this, I'll just point them to this part of the video. Let us not blind ourselves to any aspect of our existence right now. There exist social evils, there exists really oppressive practices in human minds. Definitely those who have been born into Brahmin families have in their own heads have this kind of superiority and think of other, there are people who think of other castes as lower, or that they belong, it's there because they don't eat meat, or they don't drink, because they have, they are so close to the deity in the temple, it gives them some God-given right to place them above and demand respect. There exist these terrible social practices, but to attribute all of them to one book and say, oh, this is it, if you burn up this book, it will go away, and is looking at things in a very malicious intent to destroy the foundations, the fundamentals on which we work as a society, as a collective whole. All right. To those who are asking about Upanishads, Yoga Sutras, different kinds of stotras, and Bhagavad Gita, I started with the Bhagavad Gita. All the 18 chapters exist. This is not for you. You can please go to the Bhagavad Gita playlist, listen to it again. I'm sure if you're here commenting about Manu Smriti and you have that time, let me wait for YouTube. I'm sure there are many shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita which you can still work upon and refine your pronunciations. So with that, let's go to the chapters of Manu Smriti. Again, if you look at so just with an overview, it becomes very clear that nowhere does it say, let's go oppress people. So there are social evils, but wherever there is a power dynamic to exploit, humans throughout history have unfortunately found loopholes to exert influence, to gather power, to exclude people they don't want or they don't like. But this is all, none of that is coming from a book. They might be twisting, bending the rules and punishments which are present in the book, but why they are present if we just look at it with an open mind, we see that there is a valid reason and there is a very deep sense of uh, realization behind how a society should function in this text. So there are 12 chapters, like I said. In the next 4 slides, we'll look at the titles of each of these adhyayas and what they contain. The first one deals with Srishti Rachana, Praninan Jatayah, so jati, birth of how different beings from yakshas, kinnaras to gandharvas, rakshasas, pishachas, and different insects, kitas and pakshis, sarpas, where did they all come from? What is this birth of creation and creatures in a very abstract method, not like, oh, there was a single cellular organism which underwent mitosis first. But this starts as there was a cosmic egg and there was the creator within that egg, and that creator with his own thought split himself into two, and assumed one half to be masculine and the other half to be feminine. So it is very profound in that sense of observation. Of course, it might not sound in the same terms as modern scientific terminology that there was a single cellular organism, but it says there was a single cosmic egg before. That Hiranmaya Andaha, Haima Anda, Brahma Anda, the entire creation is said to be one huge cosmic egg. And from that Anda, one half taking on the masculine form, one half taking on the feminine form, that Ardhanari Swarupa, how did various creatures come into being is presented in the first chapter, the first half. Then come different units of time from a day and a night, which which is in the perception of all of us, towards a samvatsara, towards Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, one half of the year, the northern run of the sun and the southern run of the sun, which is like day and night for a different kind of creature, a more elevated kind of creature, and for called as devas. So for devas, whole year is one day, and that 360 of those solar years, which are one day for the devas, is 360 of them makes 1 year for the devas, which is 1 day for a different kind of creature, which is one step above the devas. So like that, there is step by step counting of time, calculation of time. There are different units of measures that are mentioned. There are yugas, chatur yugas, manvantaras and kalpas as they go on. I did a video separately on these macro units of time counting upwards and micro units of time counting downwards to a truti. It's from a day to a muhurta to a finer and finer and finer divisions of time. So all of the finer divisions are not mentioned because this deals with macro phenomena. There are macro units of time. And then comes from that the divine being who was the source of all of this. From his body alone came 4 different kinds of people, 4 different traits of people. Then what are those traits? Who are the Brahmanas? Which part of the divine did they come from? Then Kshatriya, then Vaishya and Shudra. What do these 4 groups of people mean? Varna. It is a spectrum. So we now have this term spectrum for anything that has a diversity, right? There is gender spectrum, political spectrum, economic spectrum. Like that, there is a trait spectrum of various kinds of people, traits and occupations spectrum. Not that one cannot move between them. This is the spectrum where people can move between, not the gender spectrum. So let me not go there again. So it's stupid that one can think that one can move at will across the gender spectrum. But trait spectrum, of course, one cannot move at will, but by working upon oneself, one can move. And so there are these different varnas, and there are various kinds of dharmas for all of these varanas. And there are some, you can go through the entire chant video on the meanings. There are some places where there is a clear mention that a brahmana is somebody who, even within brahmanas, there are multiple spectra. There are, a brahmana who is born into a brahmana jati is at the lowest, but then somebody who is in the study of different shastras is one step above. The one who studies them and is also performing them and living his life according to them, one step higher. The one who has realized the nature of the divine, who has this brahma jnana within his or her own self, the highest of the brahmanas. So there is a clear division without any kind of shying away from political incorrectness or correctness, that there is this perception that, of course, there are baser instincts, there are subtler instincts based on those traits of people to go towards those kinds of activity, those kinds of occupations, or those kinds of pursuits. Based on those traits, there are different, there is a whole spectrum of people. So that is where the first chapter ends. If you want to, I'll make this public next week, probably, or Wednesday, I'll make it public, that video. For early access, you can check the pinned comment in the chat box. That is the first chapter. Then the second chapter deals with Jata Karmadi Sanskara Vidhi, Brahmachari Dharma and Guru Lakshanam. For people who understand Indian languages, these are quite straightforward, but these are rituals and other kinds of sanskaras are purification, or samskara is something which is refinement. So the word samskara means making something finer, making something better. So right from birth, from Karna Veda to Annaprashana to Vidyarambham to Upanayanam, there are 16 different rituals and samskaras, or 64 in some groups, or 128. So you can, there finer and finer aspects of life, making sure that there are rituals assigned with each of them until death and beyond. A few days after death, so many other days after death, 1 year after death. There are multiple such karmas or samskaras which are again prescribed with this understanding that this life within functions in a certain way. It has these panchabhutas and the different kinds of sense organs, the different karmas and the the sanchita karma and the prarabdha karma, how life functions from body to body, and how you can move from these one set of traits towards a finer set of traits. All such rituals are mentioned, and there are different dharmas, there are different duties for different kinds of people in different ashramas. So there is a brahmachari ashrama. Every baby born must go through a certain period of celibacy to work on oneself, to gain skill, and then go towards grihastha, and then towards vanaprastha and sannyasa. There are step-by-step, clear-cut paths marked, so that the entire society is not at friction with each other. We see now that there are societies where either there are too many old people, not enough young people. There are all these old people are now living off the taxes of the young, and the young are now don't want to work anymore, because what is the point? The old are retired, they're not working anymore. There are societies like that. And then there are societies where there are only young people, no old people. So there are, it's lagging on YouTube. And then there are societies where are just young people, no old people to give them guidance, to make sure that the young people learn from their mistakes and not fall into the same traps. So how to make sure that a certain society has a balance of all of these, and so that everybody sticks to their track, does this for a certain period of time with this intent, and performs their duties, while at the same time taking care of their desires, making sure that their own ambition is not curtailed. So it is a very, very profound sense of how everybody can conduct each other's life without being at friction with each other. This kind of restriction, this kind of guidelines might come across as oppressive. When you think only you have the right to live and pursue your dreams and amass wealth at the cost of others. So only then it feels oppressive, which is what the entire world is geared towards today. I want to be a billionaire, doesn't matter what, how the slums are growing. There are multi-storied buildings and there are the worst of slums side by side. Because somebody who has the capability, now there is nobody is putting a restraint saying, okay, after a certain age, this is what you have to do. Or I know these are the different duties that you have, and you have, it's very clear that, this rampant consumption model that we are on right now needs to be curtailed, and there are such kinds of restricting guidelines in these chapters. Then there are Guru Lakshanam, which are what are whom should one learn from, what are the qualities of a guru. And then the third chapter has Samavartanam, which is after going on the path of Brahmacharya, coming back to the society and becoming a Grihastha. And there are Panchamaha Yajna. There are 5 great yajnas. Translating yajna as a sacrifice again is not malicious, probably. It's just either ill-informed or it might be done by people who want to just appropriate these terms for their own languages. But yajna as a term is something which holds a lot of deep meaning. There are 5 such great yajnas mentioned in the 3rd chapter, which one must perform. It's not, yajna is not always necessarily just doing a certain ritual in front of a fire. Yajna is something that one does with one's own life, with one's own life energies and path of one's life. So those Panchamaha Yajnas are mentioned. Then the 4th chapter, Vedokta Jivikaha. What is a Vedic livelihood? There are many people trying to live like that, people going back to the roots, people setting up goshalas, people making sure they grow their own food and sustenance, live with as minimum waste as possible. So in this chapter, it's very clearly covered what are the prescriptions of living a balanced, sustainable life as per the Vedas. And there are Atithi Lakshanam. Atithi are guests. Guests are anybody who comes just for begging, just asking for alms, or different kinds of creatures that might visit, or other relatives, friends who might visit. But how must they be? How must those people who are visiting other homes as Atithi? Atithi literally means the one who does not look at Tithi. Tithi are date, time, appropriate calendrical appointments. Atithi is the one who drops at one's home without any appointment, is an Atithi. So why are they important, and what are the qualities of somebody who wants to drop at other people's places unannounced like that? Atithi Lakshanam. Then Grihastha Dharma, householder's duties, because a Grihastha is the fundamental unit of a society. Without a householder, there is no society. With just individual people, everybody up for themselves, and just thinking everything that I do is for my own benefit and my own enjoyment, there is no society at all. Once somebody sets up a house as an entity, a group of houses becomes a stable society. And then 5th chapter is Grihasthantargataha Bhakshya Bhakshyam. So Deha Shuddhihi. There are different kinds of, again, most of these are do's and don'ts. That is why, again, this comes across as very restricting to one's freedom, because there is Dravya Shuddhihi, there is Patni Dharma, there are duties of a wife. They are mentioned separately because the whole thing is about the duties of a householder, majority of the text is aimed towards a, uh, you know, the family unit, and how one should set up that family unit and pursue one's role in the society and fulfill one's duties. And then in a small section of that is Patni Dharma, the duties of a wife that one must fulfill. And then sixth, once the duties of the husband are done, the wife is also done. Now they don't have any more, I don't want to call it right, they don't have any more um, what action. They're not supposed to just cling on in the society forever. There is vanaprastha sannyasashramiya dharma. So one must move, if not in the younger ages, at least after fulfilling all of these, definitely move towards vanaprastha, which is living a life of little consumption, very little consumption. So I hope it's not lagging too much on YouTube. So in this society, this day and age, of course, not everybody might be comfortable just leaving everything and going to the jungle. But vanaprastha, which means going to a vana, prasthanam towards a vana, can be seen as doing pratyahara, just consuming little, making sure that the footprint on the society or on the other members of one's own individual house are not too strong. And from there on towards sannyasa, which means to distance oneself from the bondages that they have created in the society. All of this, again, it might offend every single individual. This is not just offensive for some religion people, some caste people, some this people, that people. If somebody is going unchecked and living wantonly, this text has the potential to be offensive for every individual. Because it says, of course, after a certain time, you have to go towards vanaprastha or towards sannyasa. How many Hindus, so-called Hindus, are comfortable doing it and are doing it? That's a question I'll leave for all of us to answer for ourselves. And then there are various other kinds of duties and dharmas, or again, these are prescriptions or guidelines, not you must do this, but if you want good for your own self, you better do this. You have no longer any job or any business staying in the grihastha after a certain age, or if you are below a certain age, you have no business thinking about indulging yourself in pleasures. You better be in that brahmacharya ashrama. And once you are in a grihastha ashrama, you have your sole focus should be on the householder unit, the grihastha unit that you have built. So this can be very restricting and very I won't call it suffocating. One feels suffocated only if there is this strong urge to live unchecked and to just live rampantly. But these are guidelines which set the tone towards how to conduct one's life, so that one's own life is at ease while fulfilling one's desires, and at the same time those desires don't come in conflict with the larger society. Then there are, in the 7th Adhyaya, Saptam Adhyaya, the qualities of a ruler, the duties of a king, different kinds of calamities, who should be treated first, how to prioritize it. Of course, these are vital aspects of any society. How to analyze enemies, who is a friend, who is an enemy, and dealing with it, doling out appropriate punishments and rewards, and all of these are in the Saptama Adhyaya. Ashtama Adhyaya, establishing courts of justice, and most of these are aimed towards rulers and kings, not towards the householders or every single householder. But there are principles, larger principles, which apply, which seem just. What is justice? If there are dharma sankatas, there are conflicts in dharma when there are two parties who both seem to be having some sort of a loss, or both of them want profit for themselves, then how to uh, bring that balance. So there are different legal procedures, decision making, legal matters within the householders and outside in the society at large, different forms that a king must take up, the roles that one has to perform, the duties of a king who is in a society is in the Navama Adhyaya. And the Dashama Adhyaya is the different duties of Vaishya and Shudras, and Anarya Lakshanam. Again, Arya comes from the same root sound for Rishi and Rik, which just means civilized. It is not some race of people who have, you know, gone from one place. There are Dravida Deshiya people, there are South Indian people who address, and in Sanskrit texts of the South from the past, there are Sambodhana as Arya to each other. So Arya is somebody who is civilized, who is in touch with the cosmic truth, which is called as Rik. That is, somebody who sees it clearly is a Rishi, and somebody who lives in line with that is an Arya, so is a civilized being. And somebody who is uncouth or uncivilized and does not follow these kinds of dharmas is Anarya. So it's not people who are from a different race of people apart from Aryas. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, Anarya Jushtam, Krishna says. So it is uncivilized of you. And then there are Karmanusara Varna Parivartanam. Based on one's acts, deeds, how does one, go towards finer traits and occupations, or baser traits or occupations? One can move across the spectrum, of course, based on one's actions and one's vasanas, one's tendencies. So how does one do that? What leads to different kinds of refinement? And then the 11th Adhyaya is about Vibhinna Papanam Prayaschittani. So Prayaschitta is atonement. It's a decent enough translation, which is after a misdeed has been committed, after one has overstepped and has performed something that should not be performed, has not performed something that should be performed, how to take remedial measures, what to do now to correct it to some extent, and what are the different sins in the first place, why they are sins, and how they have crossed their responsibilities or not fulfilled their responsibilities, and what are the different remedies for those. And the last 12th Adhyaya is Karma Phala Vidhanam, the law of karma, which is Lord Krishna himself says Gahana Karmano Gatihi. The movement of karma is something which is deep and profound and is not very evident to immediately understand. So the law of karma, what it states, how karma functions, and the three kinds of karmas, of course, sattva, rajas and tamasika karmas, their movement, and the importance of Vedas, and a council of dharma. So how to set up, so to resolve conflicts which might arise even after reading all of this, because what to do, what not to do, just to wake up early in the morning, after having set an alarm for ourselves, which is dharma, which is a law, which is a rule that we have set up, just to do that. Something as simple that we ourselves have set up, which is a rule of waking at a certain time. Next morning, early morning, mind comes up with 10 different reasons as to why that should not be followed, and why not waking up is now dharma. Of course, the body needs more rest, so hurting it would be adharma. So there is always a room for dialogue and debate, and see what exactly is dharma, what is not dharma. So how to establish that, and how to arrive at a conclusion that yes, this is what is the right path, because that is what dharma can be translated as roughly, which is taking the right decision. If there is a conflict, what is the right decision to take? And if that itself is fundamentally broken, how do we now aim towards gathering or making wealth or artha or enjoying the pleasures or kama and going beyond all of this moksha if this fundamental dharma itself is not strong. So with that ability to take the right decisions, we will cover all the 12 chapters in their original Sanskrit. And depending on how many people we have in with the Sanskrit channel to translate these shlokas into individual regional languages, we'll also present these with in other languages: Telugu, Hindi, Gujarati, let's see Malayalam if possible, Tamil, depending on how many people join us, how much work is done there. But this will be something which is an ongoing process. Like I said, there are Google spreadsheets. So work which is done, if somebody new comes and joins in and wants to take that forward, all that work that was done in the past will stay on that multi-language downloadable resource spreadsheet. So we can take steps towards translating it into multiple other regional languages. My original chant of all the shlokas will always be available, of course, for reference. So with that said, we'll now listen quickly to the first video. This is the video that
Ath Manu Smriti.
So this is the format in which
Prathamodhyaya Manu Meka Pratipujya Yathanyayamidam Vachanamabruvan Bhagavan Sarva Varnanam Yatha Vadanupurvashah Antaraprabhavanancha Dharman no Vaktumarhasi Tvameko Hyasya Sarvasya Vidhanasya Swayambhuvaha Achintyasya Prameyasya Karya Tattvarthavit Prabho Sataif Prushtastatha Samyagamito Jamahatmabhih Pratyuvacharchyatan Sarvan Maharshin Shruyatamiti Asididantammo bhutamaprajñatamalakṣanam Apratarkyamavijñeyam Prasuptamiva sarvatah Tatasvayambhur-bhagavan avyakto vyanjayan.
So you see, this is the place where shlokas start talking about the origin of creation, how the divine, out of his own thought, wanted to become manifest from the state of being unmanifest, from non-physical to physical. With that thought, just because of his thought, he came forth. And that, because it is that thought in the manas, that, this Swayambhu and Swayambhuva Manu is supposed to have come forth from the all-pervading Brahma. And that is the more esoteric meaning of what it means when they say Manu is the mind-born son of Brahma, which is Brahma. There are multiple, again, things that are indicated with the term Brahma. Of course, there is this creator who is the son of Vishnu, or somebody who is responsible for bringing forth creation. That Brahma has that one of the three murtis. But the all-pervading nature of existence, the whole consciousness, Aham Brahmasmi, that Brahma is the larger consciousness itself. So it is Swayambhuva Manu is the son of that Brahma. We'll look at, we'll have multiple live streams until the time we complete the Dharma Shastra, the entire Manava Dharma Shastra. We'll have multiple live streams delving into all of these aspects of who are the different kinds of Manus. So there are various Manus for different Manvantaras, and right now it is Vaivasvata Manvantara, as they say, it's going on. But the first one was Swayambhuva Manu, the self-manifest Manu. So this is where that origin story starts, and then it goes on to say who Narayana is, and from what are the different kinds of gunas that came from him, or how different creatures came from him. So all of this is in that video of the first Adhyaya. There are 119 shlokas in this first Adhyaya. All of them have been chanted and covered in this video. I'll make it public soon, on Wednesday most probably. But otherwise, it's there right now as early access to all members and patrons. With that, that was an introduction to Manu Smriti, an overview of all the chapters, why the existing translations are problematic, and it's best to go with the original shlokas themselves, while keeping in mind that this is a text which inevitably is going to feel oppressive because it's a rule book. You can't do whatever you want. You have to go by a certain set of rules in a society. So that is why it might come across as oppressive. But this in itself is not. Its objective is not to oppress people. Its objective is to create coherence in a society, and assigning people their own roles and their own paths to take. With that, I'll end the live stream today. We'll go through some of the questions if there are any. Once again, thank you so much, Chandramouli Garu, for the super chat. Did he put any comments? Yeah, there seem to be a lot of comments. Let me start with the latest. Awesome, thanks, thank you. Listen to the video, Sergi, enough time afterwards to Google or not? Oh, he was, Chandramouli, we were engaging with the comments. If there are any questions, please let me know at the bottom. Do you know to read Telugu? Of course, Durga Prasad ji. Telugu chadavadam vachu. Gujarati, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Devanagari, of course, Hindi, and English. I can read fluently. Can speak Telugu very fluently. Other languages with some effort. Other languages, I mean Malayalam and Gujarati, which I've learned very recently. Bengali, I'm still learning how to read. I'm not super fluent with reading Bengali, but I am learning how to read. But yes, I really want to do this in as many Indian regional languages as possible. Bharatiya bhashaah sarvada uchitaah Samskrita shastran patitum. Tarhi sarve tatra eva pathamah tasmin madhyame eva pathamah iti prayatamah pashyamah. Gamerji, are you a Brahmin? No, yes and no. But again, the term is highly misunderstood, so I don't want to understand and address that unless somebody understands that term clearly. Why give all that context and then answer it? For a very quick answer, no, I'm not. Then who is the founder of Jainism? There are some random questions. Please confirm if you have read any Sanskrit commentary. Also suggest to us any good Sanskrit commentary on this. I'll put all those Sanskrit commentaries in that folder, books by reputed authors. But then again, even then, many times to understand the commentary is a bigger task to understand the original. That is how the nature of many commentaries is. But yeah, I will put those Sanskrit commentaries also that I've read. Deepayan Dashgupta ji, your Bangla is better than mine. That I've practiced a lot for just that video for Ramaraksha Stotram. Kichu jani ami Bangla, but I want to learn it better. I'm glad, but if you say my Bangla is better than yours, it's not something that I should be proud of. It's something you should be working on. And what do you think about the linguistic politics of India and the Sanskrit revival movement in regard to nationalism? Sanskrit revival movement, I don't know, guys. People have been working in this field for many decades. There are giants of the field, but somehow Sanskrit has not been a mainstream language. You and I are not still speaking in Sanskrit. I can speak it, but sarve avagantum na shaknuvanti. So, bhavati kinchit purogatihi mandam. परन्तु इतोपि सर्वे सर्वैः अवगन्तव्यं, सर्वे अस्मिन् भाषायाम् अस्यां भाषायामेव सम्भाषणं कर्तव्यं सर्वैः। कदा भवति इति न जाने, परन्तु पश्यामः। Like you said, the effort is on. Let's see when we can most probably, and I think most of us, यदि अहं मन्दं मन्दं संस्कृतमाध्यमेन वदामि, भवन्तः सर्वे अपि अवगन्तुं शक्नुवन्ति। तत्र कोऽपि सन्देहः नास्ति। अस्ति वा सन्देहः? सर्वे जानन्ति भवन्तः संस्कृतं। तस्यां भाषायां सम्भाषणं किञ्चित् कष्टाय। तदपि कथं कर्तव्यमिति सर्वे चिन्तयन्तः सन्ति, सर्वे तस्मिन् कार्ये एव निरताः सन्ति। पश्यामः। Let's see how far we can go with that. But the key towards going there is definitely not through English language. If there is a sensible way towards uplifting our skill and to be able to understand Sanskrit the deepest, it is through our own mother tongues. So that is why before Bhasha Prayogaha, which is the second level after Vakshuddhi, I want to myself get a personal, at least if not complete mastery, a reasonable command over multiple regional languages of Bharat, so that I know what the flavor is and what the ethos is of all these languages. And then we'll go towards Bhasha Prayoga course. Before that, it doesn't make sense for me to come up with another course. But if you want to learn with the fundamentals, please go through Vakshuddhi. Yes, we'll come to questions on Zoom. Lakshmiji, you have to go, is it? Yes, I'll come. So thank you so much. I'll close this on YouTube. If the members are not still here on Zoom, please come on to Zoom, guys. You will find the link to Zoom session and the password in the description below. Once again, thank you so much for being here. It's been too long. Our members on Zoom call need to go, so I'll take leave. Other random questions, maybe we can have another live stream tomorrow for everything under the sun. The random everything goes kind of live stream. Thank you so much, Chandramouli ji, once again for the super chat, and everybody else for your patient time. And please take your time to listen to the original Sanskrit video of Manu Smriti. This is not some oppressive text. It is one of the most fundamental texts to understand and practice Dharma. With that, thank you so much. Shubharatri once again. Namasarvebhyah. Punarmilamaha.